Are you a live stream producer? Are you looking to improve your live production quality? On this episode, Marco Novo and myself, Christian Karasiewicz, we're going to share tips and tools to help you make better, more professional live streams. We're going to primarily focus on obviously some tips to help you, but we're also going to talk about some of our favorite tools as well to help make producing a live stream easier and better. So I'm gonna come on and say a quick hello. Hey everyone, how we doing? This is the Launch Your Live show on Amazon as well as a podcast. You can check it out if you're listening. All you have to do is go to launchyour.live/EP86. You can tune in to all the products that we're over here featuring on Amazon Live. I do want to apologize. We kept having to move the start time because, Marco was actually showing me some really cool tips and tricks of things that we could do for our live streams. And so we kind of got playing with those. You'll probably notice the header is a little bit different. Came up with some different versions that we wanted to share with you all today. So sorry about starting a little bit late as usual, but here we are. So
absolutely.
Marco, I know today we're going to be talking about, for those of you who don't know, my name's Christian Karasiewicz. I'm joined by Marco Novo. We basically, I work for StreamYard, actually live stream software that's actually we're producing this show with. And Marco, I think you and I both have live stream production experience, right?
Yes, we do.
And so what we want to do today is we want to talk about, some tips, some tools, some things like that to help you if you are producing streams. And this could be producing streams for other people, but this could also just be producing your own streams. Like, what can you do to make them better? And so, absolutely. Marco, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to let you kind of kick things off and just talk about, like, what do we want to, I guess maybe let's start off, like, what do we want to actually start with when it comes to live stream producers? Like, what are some of your favorite tips?
Well, I think I need to make a good point about this because, sure. For instance, the other day I was talking with some kids, and I said because they were talking about work and everything, and I said, "Look, when I finished my university, the job I have today didn't existed." Okay, so this live producer thing could be a nice way for you to generate a nice stream of income at the end of the month. So I think it's important to talk about this because when I started my live stream journey in 2015, people laugh at me, and now I'm making good money with this. Okay, so it's important to have this in mind. It's not like, oh, you want to be famous, you want to be featured in the TV. No, it's something that besides creating your own content, creating your own community, you can make a good income with that. So it's a good point I want to highlight as well. Okay. And also, it's important to have in mind that one of the most important things as a remote TV producer, and usually you don't show in the screen, it's to help the event to succeed, all your knowledge. Okay, this was something that I learned from my experience, and I'm pretty sure, Christian, that you felt the same. That sometimes we see people that are not so aware of how they should share screen, using the right things to make it good. Okay. So that's one of the good reasons I think this topic, it's a very good topic, and why we should talk about it, and also here on Amazon, because I think that we may see there's people finding and searching for good gear, but also it's important to talk a little bit about these tips about live streaming. And I think this could be one of the important tips when we talk about this. Okay. It's that you don't need to start with a very expensive budget. Okay, because usually you don't need to show on the screen, and you don't need to be real good heard in the speakers or headphones. So you don't have to spend $1 million.
Let's
with
dial it back. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars or even $1,000 on high-end equipment. I mean, sorry, let me rephrase. If you're good, you don't need to spend the money on things like, for example, a high-end camera.
Yes.
If you're the one that is not, if you're not going to be on screen, you're going to be behind the scenes as a producer, you don't need an expensive camera. If you're going to be using your screen, for example, and you're not really like, say you're not streaming gaming content or things like that, but you're the one doing the production, you don't need the most expensive and fanciest monitor. Now, granted, it would be awesome to have, and we talked about this on the last episode, which is launcher.live/EP85, where I talked about the best monitors and screens you could get. Now, what I said there was, you don't have to have the most expensive like gaming monitor, because if you're doing production, people aren't going to see that. However, if you're going to be sharing if you're going to be doing that in addition to doing production for other people, you may want that. And then another level that you can look at is, if you need a lot of screen real estate, you could get that 49-inch monitor that we talked about, but you don't necessarily need it. I think that's the key point that we want to drive home here. So,
absolutely.
So Marco, let's just, how do you want to start? Do you want to talk about like maybe some equipment that we like, tools and equipment, and then maybe add some tips in? What do you think?
Yeah, I think we can go for it. maybe talking about one of the most important things,
sure,
Chris, and we keep seeing this all the time, which is the problem of using the speakers instead of earphones or these kind of devices.
Yeah.
So, I think it's a good point, and this is also important, as I mentioned before. Don't think about the producer tasks about just moving scenes and ending, finishing, bringing overlays and these kind of things. Also, it's important to bring your knowledge before the show begins. And for instance, giving the advice to the organization. Look, it's important for your speakers to use earphones. Use, for instance, how to share the screen. Look this tutorial. So, and I keep seeing people using the speakers and bringing that annoying looping feedback to the sound.
Yeah, I know. I gotta say, it is one of those things where if you're a producer, like, I'm so surprised, I guess, at times that it's so hard to get a guest to wear headphones. Like, they won't wear headphones for some reason, and it's like, and here's the thing: when your guest doesn't, you probably know this. If you're an advanced producer, you know this. But if you're not, you're brand new. If somebody's not wearing headphones, it's fine for them because they may not be, listening.
That's the main problem there.
Yes. Stuff, but the problem is, if they're not wearing headphones, what ends up happening then for the producer is that it becomes a challenge of having to mute and unmute somebody if there's too much background noise going on, because again, that actually takes away from the production, the quality of the live stream production. And so, yeah, it's definitely, that's like a tip that I'd say everybody who's starting with live stream needs to wear a pair of headphones. But yeah, it's a hard thing to get people to do. So Marco, where do you want to start in terms of like, live stream production tips and tools and equipment?
I think we have their headset, which is an important device as well.
Okay.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about a headset. We're going to talk about a couple of different headsets, right, Marco?
Yes.
So what's the first one? What kind of headset do you think people should have? Should they have a wired or wireless headset?
To work with the production?
Yeah.
Wired. Okay.
As a producer, you should have a set of wired headphones. Absolutely. So, Marco, I don't know if you have the ones that we're going to pull up, and I'm going to pull these up here for everybody. So
I don't have it, but I know someone who has, Ryan Swanstrom, our fellow Amazon influencer. And for instance, I finished a live show with him a couple of hours ago.
Yeah.
Well, I started a couple of hours ago, and he was using this headset. Okay, I have to say the first thing about this, it's only, I think it's $22. Okay, so and it has a huge cord. It has a good sound, even though it's not important to have a crystal clear sound. But there's something that I think it's important to say as well in this topic is sometimes it's not usual, it's not the rule, but sometimes as a producer you have to jump in to the stage, maybe to help the speaker having some issues or something, and you have to jump in. So it's important that you sound good. And this kind of device, it's good because it has a good sound. And another thing, like I'm using now, I'm using this microphone with the stand or boom arm. And the problem with this is that somehow it doesn't give me the best freedom to work with my keyboard. Okay, it's kind of a noise that I have in front of me. Using this kind of devices, as far as the microphone, it's there, hang it on one here. You don't have this noise around you to, how can I say it, to annoy you while you're working. So that's the reason I think it's important to have this kind of device. It's a Logitech, and I've been mentioned all the time my love about Logitech gear. So that's a good device. And also, for instance, if you do remote work and or Zoom calls, whatever, it's a really nice device that you can have. And also the sound looks good. And there's another thing that I notice in this kind of headsets. It's when someone breathes, there's this wind coming from the nose entering the microphone, and it's not a good experience. And with this one, I didn't notice once this problem.
Yeah. Nope. Excellent point. Yeah, and this is a very good. Again, it's not like an expensive pair of headphones, but it'll get the job done in terms of using it for live streaming. So, so for example, if you're a producer, I mean, here's the thing: we said this earlier. You don't need super expensive headphones. And I'll be honest with you, the next thing we're going to actually share is a pair of Bluetooth headphones, and we'll talk about why this is a good production tool as well to have. But for example, this is a good pair of headphones to put in. For example, if you're a producer, you're going to want to put these. You're going to want to have that close to your head because, again, I mean, you're not on screen, so these may not look cool on you right now, but because you're behind the scenes, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and it has, and then I've somehow highlighted this. It has 6 feet, 0.6, 7. So it gives you a kind of range to move. Yes.
Excellent, actually. Yeah. So, okay. So that would be like, so if I'm a producer, I'd recommend having a good pair of headphones that you can put over your head. You're probably wondering, well, hey, Christian has headphones on right now, but you can't see them. It's because I have these in-ear monitors. And I know, Marco, I think you've got in-ear monitors as well.
Yes.
So, I do. As a producer, you want to make sure you wear headphones. Now, another little tip that we have for you is you want to also have a pair of headphones for, so like, for example, let's say Marco and I were over here producing a show. How are we going to communicate, right? And so we're not going to, we may be on our phones, for example, we may be doing that. We may be in the private chat doing this as well. But what I would recommend for something like this would be having a second pair of headphones, for example, a pair of AirPods. I would only connect these with the one device I need to connect to. For example, it could be my phone. And so here's what I would do with this. So I'm going to do this right now. I would take one pair. I have my regular headphones on. This is to listen. I'm listening to the actual broadcast. But then let's say Marco and I need to actually chat and be on a different line. I would mute the live broadcast mic so that way nobody can hear me. And then what I would do is I would take my second pair of headphones, for example, my AirPods. I would put this one in maybe this ear. And so then that might be connected to my phone. And so then that way, if Marco and I need to have a conversation, we can have a conversation. I can hear him talk about the production behind the scenes while still being able to listen to everyone else in the other headphone. And the way that I normally work this is, for example, I will turn this one down so that I can hear some of it, but I don't need to hear everything. And then I will hear the majority out of the left one, which is me and Marco and I having that conversation about things. So
Absolutely.
What do you think about that, Marco? Any other tips you want to share there?
Well, it doesn't need to be, it's better to be a second communication channel behind the scenes. It could be, it's the best option is to be with sound, but it has to be anyhow. Okay. For instance, WhatsApp chat or something, you really need to have this second channel, because to prepare things, to troubleshoot something, it's really important to have this second channel to work really well this producing job.
Fantastic. Yeah. So that's going to be, so if I'm a producer and I'm need to communicate with staff, I would wear something like this. Also want to make sure we highlight just a couple of comments here. So we got a lot of our good friends here actually too. And I want to say thank you all for everybody who's actually tuning into this live. I want to thank Dean and then Mike. And then I've got Anka here tuning in as well as Darren. And Anka brings up another great comment. She says that you can also use Discord as a live communication tool as well to communicate with your remote assistant producer. So, I think that's an excellent point there as well. So you could go the route of, the simple way, headphones, 2 pairs of headphones. So like we highlighted some in the cart, for example, the carousel for you. Like we highlighted getting a pair of wired headphones to maybe listen to the production, and then maybe having a pair of like maybe the Apple AirPods. There's even like Anchor makes like a $20 or $30 pair that you could also get. Let me see if I can highlight those for you all in the carousel. Anchor makes a $20 or $30 pair. And what you can do with that is that's also another way to be able to then, have that tied to like your phone. It's only that you don't need expensive headphones. It could be the only pair that you connect to your phone, for example. And then the benefit here is so that as you're actually then able to communicate with people, by the way, the Anchor headphones are $25. So those are in the carousel as well, but you can get that. And then you can have one pair where you're communicating with somebody, one pair communicating with your staff, or you can go the route that Anka also suggested, which is to use a Discord server. So we'll have to make sure we get some sort of video or something on that to help you all. Okay. So that's if so for example, I need to communicate with my producer. Now, another tip we shared, let's stick to headphones real quick, Marco. Let's actually bring up those, let's bring up the Mi Audio ones. Actually, let's talk about those Mi Audio headphones. So for those of you who are going to have guests on your live stream, and they're $15 a pair. They might even be a little bit less. But one thing that you should always encourage your guests to do is also wear headphones. We talked about this at the beginning, but headphones are critical to live streaming. They don't have to be, they don't have to be the over, like a lot of people say like they don't want to wear headphones because they're so big and they're bulky and they mess up your hair and things like that, right? So here's the thing. On the flip side, so if you're a producer, you've got guests, people that are going to be on your live streams, that the talent that you're working with, you want to encourage them to wear headphones. A lot of them are going to have these. They're going to say, well, hey, they want to wear AirPods. They don't need to. I would strongly discourage wearing AirPods. And the reason because, for starters, if these have been ever connected to other devices, they can automatically disconnect. It might connect to the laptop, the tablet, the phone. The other thing that can also happen is there's, if these get below a certain battery percentage, say you've had these forever and you've never like replaced the battery at a certain point, it will actually disconnect the headphones and the person is no longer connected. So if you have a guest on and they're saying, hey, I want to wear headphones. If they don't have headphones, for starters, tell them to use the ones that came in the box of their phone. Just about every single new phone nowadays, everyone in the last 5 years should come with a pair of headphones in the box. If they don't, they should check out probably these ones that Marco, some of these that we have here in the bottom. And these are the Mi Audio ones, I think, right? Yeah.
Yes.
These are the Mi Audio headphones. They're $15. And so these are $15. So if you're, for example, you could probably get headphones for even less, but encourage the talent to get a pair of headphones. These are $15. There are other, as I mentioned, there are other types of headphones you can get as well, but these are $15. You can even buy just a pair of the Apple headphones or even the ones that come with it, the Samsung devices as well. And just encourage them to wear these. These are a lot less obtrusive than, wearing the big canned headphones over your ears. They're just too big, big and bulky.
Absolutely.
So we'd always encourage people, if you're going to have a guest on, make sure you have them get a pair of headphones. And if they don't have a pair of headphones, if you're a producer, you've already got a lot of things to think about, but why not build into your production cost the cost of some headphones? Like, hey, we're going to send 5 pairs of headphones to the individuals that are going to be a guest on that live stream that you're producing. And heck, it may not even be on you. It could be on the person who's actually doing the live stream. But make sure your guests wear headphones. And I do want to make sure we highlight, I think we got another good comment here from Anka. Anka, by the way, thanks again for sharing such great information. She's sharing that she's only had issues with wireless headphones like AirPods, especially during live streaming. And I'm going to assume you've had issues in the sense of like, has it been that they disconnected? Has it been the low power thing? Like, what was the issue?
For instance, let me because there's a lag here.
Yeah.
The other day I was producing a show and one of the speakers was using these AirPods, and from times to times he was kind of 2 seconds without sound.
Yep.
And even though it may seem, it's a few times, but it's not. 2 seconds in a live streaming, they are, it's big.
Yep. Definitely is. And so I think that's a really good point, Marco, about wearing headphones. I also want to make sure I highlight another great comment as well. Again, I think this one's from Anka as well. Yep. So she says they kept disconnecting on the guest, and absolutely. So that is a challenge because you need to communicate with your guest on your live streams. And so it can be very hard to do that if their headphones are disconnecting, for example. That does happen. And I also have come across this. People have said, well, hey, these are all they have. So if AirPods are all they have, great. But then they also have to make sure they charge them. And I've run into people that have said like, hey, I used these this morning. I didn't charge them. So this is the great thing about wearing wired headphones. You don't have to charge them. So again, these are nice. They're easy to move around with, but you have to think, I've got wired headphones on right now. I'm not moving around very much. I sort of think like, I don't know if everybody who's a producer kind of feels this, but if you're wearing like wired headphones and like, as long as you've got like a long enough cord, like I've got like a 6-foot cord here, I don't think people are going to be moving around a whole bunch. Right. Like I think people are afraid that, oh, they're going to move this way. I don't know if anybody's ever given a presentation. You've moved this way and all of a sudden your headphones came out of the port. But I think we make up that false issue. I think, that it really is not an issue, but we're making, I think, a big deal about it. But yeah, so make sure, next item obviously is make sure when you have a guest on, make sure that make sure they have headphones. And if they don't, go on Amazon, buy a few packs of these. They sell, 10 packs of headphones. Get them a pair of headphones that they can hear out of. So, because then again, that's going to help improve your production. And then also, again, I'm going to bring up another comment. This is from Darren, by the way. And Darren's saying, no cans on the talent. Absolutely. Again, it's getting something that's a little slimmer, a little smaller profile. Like, for example, you can't really see that I've got these on. Marco, I think are those earbuds or what do you have on?
Yes. Wired.
He's got wired headphones as well. So again, these go behind your ear, they go down your back. And there you go. Look at that. They're virtually out of the shot. And it helps produce a clean looking shot versus if I had, big canned headphones on and I'm talking at a medical conference, for example, that doesn't look good to people on, doesn't look good to the audience who's actually watching that. It doesn't look professional. Because if you're at a conference, like a medical conference, you anticipate that like people are going to have, by the way, these come in clear too. So you can get clear ones, things like that let them look good on camera, let you still hear them. and yet also don't distract from their information.
Yes, indeed.
Excellent points, by the way. So also want to, Anka, yeah, absolutely. She's saying she loves the idea of buying a few different sets and sending them to the talent, client, guests. Yeah. By the way, I'll send you a bill for that one, Anka, for that excellent tip there. Because I know she's a producer, by the way. So you're very welcome, Anka. Okay. So Marco, what else do we need to consider? So as a live stream producer, what are some other tips and tools that you'd recommend?
Well, okay. Maybe I can, and then we can hook this conversation to the monitors.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
One of the things I've been noticing, and I'm pretty sure that you all noticed that, and Hanka as well, it's the main problem about, for instance, how to share screen, how to mute, how to I don't know, maybe bring a PowerPoint to the presentation. So one of the things I made a couple of months ago was creating tutorials how to join StreamYard as a guest, for instance, and also how to share a PowerPoint on StreamYard, because this will ease the process of bringing your guests to your show. And also, one thing I made, I'm not using it this often, but it's important. I made it a couple of years ago, was a kind of checklist. What do you need to do as a guest? Because I've been noticing that some people, not all, of course, they don't realize how important it is, their role, when they are in the screen. Mm-hmm. They forget that it's their personal brand that it's there, and also the brand of the brand that brought them to the screen. Okay, for instance, let give a practical example.
Sure.
You're having me here as a co-host, not as a guest, but let me pretend that I'm a guest, and I have an awful sound. I don't know how to work. I have a noisy background. I have people coming and going. I have a lousy internet.
Okay.
It's also you that is in a bad situation, because people will ask, why Christian brought this guy to the show?
Okay. Yep.
So it's important as well having this kind of tips to send to the guests, even though we know that some of them, they don't look at them. But at least we are doing this work in advance, who hopefully will solve lots of problems before we start. And I think it's really important. So, for instance, that's why I think it's important to talk about monitors for now, because they will give you room to think about, for instance, how to share screen and everything.
Yeah. So I think Marco brings up an excellent point, and that point is the fact that if you are producing a live stream for people and you're going to have them on as a guest, so obviously, it's make sure you prepare the guest, but in preparing the guest means make sure that you have the right hardware, for example, i.e. headphones, but also making sure that that guest has the instructions that they need, so it's, and we'll get to this in a second about also having like a tech session, like a prep session. But one of the things, you definitely need to do is, and here's the thing, if you're just starting out, start to build this so that as you do more productions, you have a one pager that you send every single guest. And that one pager includes, for example, like stuff that you'd replace in the document, like what's the backstage link? Other things you'd also include, instructions, what seems simple to you. For example, like we're producing this using StreamYard over to Amazon Live. And so, we do this quite a bit. However, we also know that some people, they just, this could be their first time ever being on a video. And so you want to make sure you arm them with all the right information. For example, it includes some of those simple tips as make sure you wear headphones. So for example, the option would be, okay, wear headphones as you're communicating with your talent ahead of time. Hey, if you don't have headphones, here's the document. If you don't have headphones, send me a message and we'll make sure we get a pair out to you, or something to that effect. Because then this way you ensure that you are because again, this also reflects on you as the producer. If your production doesn't look good or sound good because your talent is not prepared, that comes back to you as a producer. So encouraging them to do some of those simple things like wearing headphones, giving them the sheet with all the instructions, encouraging them to do the tech prep, for example, not blowing that off because you want to make sure that their internet, is reliable. Like if you've never worked with somebody who's coming on your production and you go in there basically blind. So if Marco came on, I had never met Marco, then I might if this is the first interaction I'm having with him, I want to make sure he's got good internet. I want to make sure, for example, that Marco has, that he has headphones, for example. What does he look like on camera? Like he knows how to change lighting. I know that, but you may have a guest that, they're in a room with a light with a window behind them and they may think I'm going to put the window behind me, because, it's going to make my webcam look better. But then the thing is, it's well, as a producer, the tip would be encourage them to, teach them also while you're working with them. So then everything they start to do, they don't say oh, well, hey, I had good production. They start to say, well, hey, I had a good show or a good interview. And, I worked with, for example, Anka, or I worked with Dean, or I worked with Mike, or I worked with Darren, for example. And they actually, in addition to actually helping me be more comfortable on camera, they also helped me improve my camera presence, for example. And so then, so they have ways to essentially, if you look at it, it's basically helping upsell everything you're doing as a producer. So, so definitely keep that sort of thing in mind. Marco, okay, so
let me just add something, if you don't mind, please,
sure.
because you mentioned that really important thing. It's not a technical thing.
Yeah,
it's a human thing. But for instance, the other day, and thankfully, this was after a break, so we were preparing ahead of time the live show. And one thing you should do as well as a producer, if you have time, of course, is to talk with the guest or the speaker and see if she's nervous.
Okay.
Yeah. Because usually we have this experience being in front of the camera, so we can send this safetiness, this security, that trust that may help them to ease the nerves and make the things better. I think this is also important to understand how the other person is feeling and how you can ease the stress before going live. I think it's also something really important.
Excellent. Nope. Excellent points. I think those are great points, actually. And again, I mean, that's something that you need to, as a producer. So it's making sure your guests are prepared. So we talked about making sure they have headphones. If they don't have headphones, send them headphones, for example. If, for example, if they're new to live streaming, go into it assuming they're new to live streaming. That's, I think, the key thing.
Absolutely.
Assuming that they're brand new to live streaming, that they don't know what they're doing, and start to prepare a document that includes all that information. So it includes some of the basic stuff. It includes a contact number, for example. So if I need to get in touch with that person, make it easy on them. Don't assume also that that all your talent's going to be, don't just assume that they're all going to be technologically advanced. You may get a guest on and they're really smart and they know their material, but they're not technically advanced. And so, trying to help them get positioned on camera, things like that, include all that stuff in a one pager. And
yes,
want to make sure we got some other good comments, by the way, coming in. We got a comment, by the way, this is coming in from Dean here. He's talking about if you can get their lighting good because you want the production to look well, to give them a good product. That's an excellent point, actually. As a producer, again, you're there to run the show, but you're also there to coach and help. And
absolutely,
that's actually that's the whole giving back thing. A lot of people might go into production and say, well, hey, I'm just going to charge, a lot of money for all of this stuff. And you're going to have people that are going to probably push back and say, well, that's expensive. But then at the same time, if you're dropping all this knowledge, you're helping their guests be more comfortable. You're making sure their show looks good, that it sounds good. It pays off in spades because exactly, yes. And absolutely right, by the way. It's all about value add. So I love that point, actually. And then another great point actually as well. This is from Mike, who says, education saves trouble next time. Absolutely. So think of it like this. This is when you're doing a production, it's not a one-off production. It may be the first time you're working with them, and then they will remember that experience. So remember how you made them feel on the live stream. And then they're going to probably want to work with your company again, or they're going to want to bring you on. Maybe they even want to bring you onto their staff. Who knows? So
yes,
there's a lot there. We got some great comments coming in, by the way, from viewers. They're saying, they'll hire you back. Absolutely. There's so much involved, like so much at stake here by doing that value add and giving back to your audience.
And
your customers.
One thing is really important about this. Yep. If the organization is aware of the importance of this, and you made a good job at the first time, they won't be trying to take risks, because even though it may seem something easy and simple, it's not. It's a huge responsibility. It's not just clicking the mouse, clicking buttons, as some people like to say. It's not, because you have to follow the conversation. Sometimes you have to jump to the stage and help the speaker, and you have to have this sensitivity to understand when you have to jump and everything. So if they are aware of that, these organizations, they will call you again to produce, because you made a great job, for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. And so there's so much here. And I want to highlight another great comment, by the way, that came in. And this is somebody spending a week on logistics for one day, like TV commercials. And then you spend 2 weeks of work for essentially was a 30-second commercial. It's like you get better at this, but there's always going to be some sort of challenge that may come up. I mean, technology, like as a producer, it can be like you can get a gremlin sometime, playing, as a producer. And you may get a gremlin one time, it may not happen the next time, or you may get something, and then that's a teaching moment to help you improve your productions even further. Okay, Marco, let's talk some more about some equipment and some gear. What other things do I need to look at as a producer?
Well, I'm seeing here, and this is so important, even though we may not think about it, a chair.
Yes, absolutely. And I got to say, don't just get a cheap chair. Like, Marco, are there any chairs you recommend? Can we let's bring up some chairs, or at least a chair that you like. So chairs are obviously super important here. I mean, for example, if you've got a dining room chair, again, you work with what you have, but you also want to think long-term as well. So for example, as a producer, you're not on screen, but guess what? You're sitting in that chair. You're not going anywhere.
Hours and hours.
Exactly. You may be sitting there for hours and hours just waiting for a cue to happen. So you want to have a comfortable chair. So Marco, what kind of chair do you recommend?
This one with this ergonomic seat. Okay. And also there's something important that I like to highlight, even though some people just like this race car gamer / gamer chair.
Yeah.
Okay. Have in mind that I think they are not the best option for a live producer, even more if you're doing long show production, because you will stay, you will be sitting there for a while. And as opposed to this one that has this meshy back, which allows your back to breathe, which is important. And for instance, if you live in a warm country, as I do in summer, like Portugal, this makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Okay. So have these breathable mesh seats, because this will, and also they long last than these leather chairs, which are also really expensive. And I don't think that what you're paying, it's the benefit you're getting.
Exactly. And I want to highlight a couple of good comments here, by the way. So NLTMW saying gamer chairs are not comfortable for long shows. But absolutely. So for example, a gamer chair, it's mostly foam on top of some sort of metal. but you also have to kind of look at the type of chair you're going to get. So for example, if you happen to get a chair, this case, it looks like it has a cushion bottom, and it also has a mesh back. Or sorry, no, you know what? Actually, let's zoom in on the base of that, Marco. So I want to highlight this real quick. So this chair is all mesh. So you have to pay attention to this. So for example, it's okay to have mesh on your back, but if you happen to get one of these chairs like this, and here's the thing, you can see on the bottom of this, that is a completely mesh chair. So basically what it means is it can support, but it doesn't provide all the necessary support that you may need. So that's something to consider. Like, $300 for a chair is not a big deal. This is a very comfortable chair. It actually looks very similar to the one I'm in, except I know it's not the same chair. Very similar chair, except this one does have, this has that mesh bottom, and the mesh bottom is not actually going to be very supportive for long stretches. So you want to consider that. But again, make the right investment in a chair. Our friend Mike and LTMW saying, gamer chairs, they tend to be vinyl, leather look. So they look up really good. They look good. However, the challenge you have is those kinds of chairs hold heat. So you also got to think, like, if you're going to be sitting in this chair for a long time, if you're sitting in that chair for 20 minutes and you got a 4 or 5 hour show, you may actually be really hot by the end of that and sweating and just really uncomfortable. And you want to make sure you're actually comfortable in whatever chair that you're in. So that is,
and there's another problem with this fake leather, and I'm leaving it in my chair, and so I'm gonna change it soon.
Yeah,
is that after some time they will start to skin, and this looks terrible.
You mean so? What do you mean by skin? Do you mean actually after a while it'll start to crack and it'll start to
yes
break down?
Yes.
Nope, that's an excellent point. Yeah. So as a producer, another thing you want to make sure you get yourself a chair that is comfortable. So, for example, I'm like, what kind of chair do you use, Marco?
Well, this is a kind of like I mentioned before. Okay. And I make this because it's more comfortable. So it has a good seat, yes, but it's old. It's 10 years. So
well, no,
I need to move on.
You gotta, here's the thing. I gotta say this. The other thing also, actually, excellent points. I gotta say, I love our viewers today. I mean, I love our viewers all the time, but like, we've got some great comments coming in. Pleather hurts when it peels. Excellent. Yes. So the other thing also, like, you look at a chair. So, you can look at, there's a company called Herman Miller, for example. They make chairs. They are the ones who actually design the whole mesh system that you see for chairs. And so it's what a lot of the lesser priced ones are built off of, but they're built for ergonomics. So you want to make sure, the other thing also about chairs, you don't just want to get a chair and, for example, like, you don't just want to get a chair that goes up and it goes down, for example, because if it goes up and it goes down, that's okay, but that's only part of your body that you're supporting. You also want to consider, if you're sitting, like, you want it to go up, you want it to go down. You also want to make sure that you get one where the base will slide forward and slide back, because you want to make it, it's like buying a pair of shoes. If you have the wrong kind of chair when you're live streaming and you're either, your feet are like, if you're sitting in that chair for a long time, all the blood's rushing to your feet, things like that. It's not comfortable. It's not healthy.
Yeah.
And so that's where you want to consider, if you're in the chair for a long time, you want to make sure that you've got a chair that can be adjustable. It can go forward, it can go backwards, and go up, it can go down. For example, it can recline. It's got, in this case, like a headrest. You may think it's silly to buy a chair that doesn't have a headrest, but you can at least lean back on it to reduce all this strain that you're putting on your neck as you're sitting there as a live stream producer. So, yeah. So again, don't skimp out. Again, this sounds silly, but don't skimp out on a chair.
Yeah. It is. It is so important.
So, okay, Marco. So as a producer, okay, so I know I need headphones. I need to get headphones for my guest. I got to get a chair. What other things do I need to consider as a producer?
Well, we can talk. We are talking about furniture, maybe a desk as well.
Sure. Okay. Yep. What kind of desk do you think that people need to get?
Well, I think this kind of mechanical, adjustable desks, they are really useful because, again,
so
it's about options,
this, right? Yeah, you're talking about one of these, right? Like a
yes, absolutely.
Desk. So what's so important about a stand-up desk?
Because even though it may seem a little bit not so comfortable, standing it's better than being seated. Okay, and I'm talking when we are producing or we are hosting. Okay, it's for both situations. So if you can change, at least from times to times, your position could be a nice option. Okay, so that's why I think, and also it has this headphone stand, which is good. And the possibility to be standing let us think that we are producing as I did a couple of times, a whole day event. If I had the chance, for instance, okay, in the morning I will be seated, at the afternoon I will be standing, or after the break I will be changing my position, this would be good. And believe me, your back will thank you at the end of the day.
Yeah. I think that's an excellent point. I mean, so you want to make sure when you're streaming, as a producer, if you're not going to be on camera, for example, you do want to also make sure you do vary your positions like during the show. So for example, you could be sitting at this desk, you could stand at this desk. And this coupled with the right kind of chair, like this is actually something where, again, it's very helpful for you to be able it's healthy is what I meant to say. It's healthy for you to have a standing desk, to have a chair, for example, that has the proper support. We got a great comment as well here coming in. So, for a chair, making sure you get a chair that is the right kind of adjustments, not just for like your legs, but also consider your arms and your hands, because they're going to be on that those armrests for quite a while as well. So you want to make sure they're positioned right. And you want to make sure as well that you have a standing desk, for example, because you don't always want to just be sitting at this desk. And it's also very sturdy, by the way, because when you get something like this, you can clip on some of the things you may need, like lighting and cameras and things like that, if you're going to be on camera a lot as well. Again, you could also get a couple of these. So, for example, you get a couple of these desks, and these desks are actually, they come in handy because you could have one of these desks raised at a very high level, and that's where you're actually in front of it. And then you could have one maybe almost like an L shape. And then the benefit there when you make it an L shape is so that it will actually then be a second, almost like an extended desk, where you can have some of your other gear that we're going to talk about here in a few minutes on. In the case of like Dean here, he says, he's using a Raspberry Pi for a playback system. So like he's got a super small like computer, for example, monitor and computer to be able to monitor his actual live stream. So that is an excellent choice there. I mean, again, don't just go with like the desk you've had for like 30 years. Get something that's going to actually help improve your production. And this is, for example, this is the benefit here is that, you can easily raise and lower things. For example, it's, again, it also gets you up and moving versus sitting at your desk the whole time as a producer. So, okay, Marco, what other things as a producer do I need to consider?
Well, I don't know if who told about the arm, because we have in the carousel this armrest support.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. Actually.
So you can check it.
Carousel, actually.
Yes.
So armrest support, like again, kind of talking about just the health aspect here of live streaming as a producer. Making sure that you get, if you have a chair that, again, don't get a chair that doesn't have arms on it. You want to have something you can put your arms on. And you shouldn't, for example, I can tell right now I need to change my arm height because I'm going to put my arms down and I'm like, oh, I really have to, like, my posture is now leaning down so that I can put them on the arms. So I need to actually make an adjustment there. But for those of you who happen to have a chair that doesn't have armrest, you can get something like this. And this will typically This can typically go on your desk, and it's basically an arm that can go on your desk. And so therefore you can, you can put your arms on this, it attaches to your desk. And now you actually can have some of those armrests if you need them, because again, but you're just sitting there. And so as you're sitting there being, not being stationary, or sorry, as you're sitting there and, you're being stationary, you're not moving around. It's not good it's not healthy. So you're putting more strain on your body just by sitting there. And then, okay, your arms are dangling off, things like that. So definitely go and check something like this out. Again, this is a small cost, $15 for armrest support. I do hope I think that does that come in a pack of 2, Marco, or is it 1? It looks like it's just 1, actually, which is interesting.
Yes,
so,
yes.
I mean, I guess it does make sense, but you could buy 2. You could put 1 on each side of your desk. But I think it's primarily geared towards people wanting to have it for their mouse. So
yes.
put it on whatever side you're using your mouse on. So, and yeah, and our buddy Mike here saying he's a similar armrest to elevate his mouse arm, clamps to his sit stand desk. So check that out. Okay, Marco, what are the things as a producer do I need to consider?
We have this.
Cool, what do you think?
I need to talk about this because this Rocketbook pad, it's something really useful. I don't know about you, Chris, but I'm taking notes all the time.
Hold on. Okay? So while we bring this up, I'm going to bring this up. Okay. So bring the Rocketbook up, and then I'll show you something as well. So,
okay. There you go.
Okay. So Marco's got he wants to talk about this item. It's a Rocketbook Orbit legal pad, executive smart, reusable legal pad. Awesome. I know exactly about these, by the way, but go ahead, Marco, take it away.
Well, as I mentioned, one of the things really important, even though the event is well planned, everything should be on an Excel sheet and everything. I like to take notes. I like to say, okay, this speaker will be leading the conversation. This will be the moderator. At this point, I need to bring the screen share from speaker A, or I need to bring the PowerPoint from speaker B, or I need to highlight this speaker, whatever. And I like to take notes on a notebook. And this kind of notebook, it's really good because it's reusable. Okay. Also, you can integrate this with your cell phone and take pictures from the notes you're taking, and then make a kind of an archive. And then you can search for a particular sheet, a particular topic, a particular thing you wrote. So you can find, for instance, you took notes about someone. You wrote an email address and you needed to delete the sheet for an upcoming event, for instance. But before you took that picture and you saved the file, and then you can get back to this archive, okay, a folder, for instance, and you can type down to try to find this file, which is really, really game changer.
Okay, Marco. So you probably heard me like rattling around and moving some things.
Yeah, I can see some. I can listen to some curious noises around there.
So there's a reason I was doing that, and that's because I have been using I talk about the Rocketbook all of the time, actually, because I've actually been using this for a long time since they first launched, and it's because it's my favorite notebook. And so I got a couple of things here. I got a pen and I got a notebook, and I want to show you guys how this works. So it's regular paper. Again, this is a model. This one's actually regular paper. So regular paper, and then I'm going to hold this pen up. Hopefully this will actually show up on camera. Let's see. So when you think about a notebook, this was the item we were talking about. And it's the Rocketbook Orbit Legal Pad Executive Smart Reusable Legal Pad. So a lot of people think reusable. They think they're going to draw on essentially a whiteboard or something like that, right? Or a product that is kind of like a whiteboard where you can draw on it and erase. Here's the thing though. This is regular paper and it uses a regular pen. Let me show you guys this. Let's see if I get that to focus. This is going to be a little hard to focus, I guess. Let's see. I got to get a new lens, I guess, maybe. It's not focusing. There we go. Okay. So it's a regular pen, by the way. So regular pen, regular paper. And the way this thing works, and this is why I would 100% recommend this as a producer. This is a must have item. Because so along the bottom, they've got a QR code. But then also along the bottom here, let me see if these, yeah, you guys can kind of see, hopefully see these a little bit. So let me actually make this full screen.
Yes.
So as you can see along the bottom, there we go. You're going to see there's these little icons that are kind of showing up. There's like a clover and a star.
Yeah.
Whatnot. Okay. Diamond, so the way that this thing works that makes this thing so awesome is that I write in it just like I normally would. Now, let's say Marco and I are, let's say we're co-producing a show. I can write in here. I can draw in here. It doesn't really matter. And then when I'm finished, I simply just check a box at the bottom of this. And that box is connected via their app. So I open my Rocketbook mobile app. It scans the QR code, and then it looks for whatever I've checked along the bottom. And here's where it's really cool. So like if you're a producer, let's say you need to send something out to like a team of, like, let's say you have productions of like 10 people and you've drawn out some stuff. So the way this thing works is you literally could check one box, and then behind the scenes, it could be set up to send to an email address you have set up as a producer that emails it to anyone else who's on that distribution list. Or it could be, let's say I want to email the diagram to Marco, myself, and then like, let's say the third one is like the people I'm doing the production for. I simply check those boxes, open the app, scan this, it reads these, and then it scans what's here. And then what's really cool about it is that it uses OCR. So it does character recognition so you can search. It also will scan your image that you've drawn, and you basically are digitizing your notes. Now, you're probably thinking, well, I could just take a picture with my phone or something. The other cool feature, this is reusable, 100% reusable. So in this model, for example, this one, you actually can take you can take a cup of water, for example, something like this. I'm not going to just put this on the notebook, but you basically sit it on the notebook and then you microwave it. By the way, you should use a mug and not a glass, but you sit it on the notebook when you're finished, and you can erase this entire notebook and reuse it. Marco, I'm like looking at your face. I'm like, can you do that face again? Because that was pretty good. I can't tell if you're like amazed at this or you're like,
yes, amazing. Yes,
it's pretty cool. Indeed. And so,
yeah,
as a producer, you're going to make tons of notes on things. But the great thing is you can have notes for every single little thing, and they're all tied back to things. This can save to Dropbox. It can save to Google Drive, saves to pretty much most every places you're working with clients on. It can also then automatically email it. It's reusable. You don't have to have a whole stack of notebooks and then go try to figure out, well, which notebook is it in? You can have one notebook, and then at the end of a production, you can digitize it. So you've got an archive of it, and then you now erase it. And look, guess what? You've got another notebook to be able to use for your next production. By the way, yes, I want to highlight a comment from our friend Dean here. Tech from Area 51 LL. Yes. By the way, you hear me talk about this stuff, and here's the thing. The reason I talk about this stuff is because I'm passionate about this stuff. I love tech. I love live streaming. I love gear, and I love helping. So this is the Rocketbook, and this is the one Marco was talking about. This is the Rocketbook Orbit legal pad, and this is about $40. But think of it like this: if you were to buy one of these if you were to buy one notebook, for example, like a physical notebook from a store, you'd probably pay $5 maybe for a small notebook. And then what's going to happen is over time it's going to get frayed. You're going to have a stack of notebooks, versus if you get into the habit of digitizing all of this, it's going to be pretty darn awesome. So definitely go and check that out. By the way, yes, Dean does want to share a link to a cue sheet. Yeah, feel free to share that as well. Yeah. So he does have a cue sheet as well that he he was putting together. And so if you're watching this at launcher.live/EP86, go through the comments. We'll make sure we put all this stuff up. In this case, Dean's going to share a cue sheet, and the cue sheet basically is it's got segment, the start, the duration, the audio, the video, the graphics, etc., that you're using for your live streams as a producer. So yeah, so Dean, feel free to share that. Okay, Marco. So let me go and put my notebook out of the way here. So let's talk about some other things that people as a producer need to consider.
Okay, so
what else is next? I mean, so like, okay, so we're talking about like notes. If you want an easy way to take notes, check out that Rocketbook. By the way, they don't just come in the legal pad size; they make multiple ones. You can also buy pens. For example, this is a black one. I think I've got I've got some blue ones here as well. Like, for example, I bought a whole packet of blue pens. By the way, I have heard that, again, using blue, black, etc. I've heard using these, like if you write in blue, I've actually heard that it helps commit things to memory a little bit better. So again, this is not just a regular pen. It looks like a regular pen, but it's actually a friction pilot pen. So it's a friction ball pen. Let's see if I can get that to focus. There we go. That's the pen we're using here with these Rocketbooks. And it's a regular pen, as you can see here. Look at that. So it's a friction pen. Very, very, very cool pen that you can get. So, okay, Marco, what other things do I need to consider as a live stream producer? What are things you think we could people need to either use or
mouses and keyboards?
Yes, you probably have heard me rattling around a whole bunch of stuff. I got to say, as someone, if you do any sort of production, and let's say your mic needs to be open, you want to consider, and this actually works both ways. So if you're a producer, or if you're on-screen talent, or if you're actually doing other live streams yourself, you want to have a silent keyboard. Absolutely have a silent keyboard and a silent mouse, because there's nothing more distracting than, for example, if you heard me right now, like Marco, do you have a silent keyboard or no?
I don't think it is.
Okay. So here's I'm going to put myself full screen, and let's say I'm over here talking. And so now let's say Marco wants to, let's say Marco he's not on screen, and he's like, oh, well, okay, I'm not on screen. What's he going to do? He's going to type away at your keyboard. Do me a favor, Marco, do some typing. I think he's got a really good mouse, by the way, or a really good microphone, because I'm not hearing anything. But
okay. Let me do something here. Okay.
So, so as you can hear, I'm over here trying to talk, and you're hearing Marco sometimes click away on things and whatnot. So what we would strongly encourage you to get as a producer is a silent mouse and keyboard. And there's lots of different ones. Marco, what kind do you recommend? Is there a particular one?
No, I think it's one thing. And talking, for instance, this RGB fashion thing, it's kind of a matter of taste, because usually, and if you're a live producer, you won't be on screen, so it doesn't matter that you have fancy lights. Okay.
Yes. So do me a favor, let's pull up that keyboard. Actually, I got that. So I'm going to pull up this keyboard. This is the Red Dragon K502 RGB Gaming Keyboard. So here's the thing. I will say the LED light, the fact that it's backlit is super important, I think. So if you're going to be doing any live stream production, having a backlit keyboard can actually be useful, because then, you don't have to have all your lights on, which can cause interference, things like that. But again, having a keyboard that is backlit does help make it easy to see in low light situations. The other thing also, though, as Marco mentioned, when he's typing away or clicking on things, you don't want to have it be so noisy that it's distracting. And so sometimes as a producer, you need to have your mic and it needs to be open. And sometimes people will accidentally leave their mics open. And guess what you're going to hear? You're going to hear a click, 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 click. You're going to hear somebody typing. So you should definitely have both a silent keyboard and a silent mouse. I gotta say, a silent mouse is super important. And that's because, I think did you hear me click there, Marco, or no?
Nope.
So if you have a silent mouse and a silent keyboard, the benefit there is so that, if you happen to have to be on screen, or maybe you need to have your mic ready, in the off chance that something does go wrong, you need to be able to communicate with people as well, who, the viewers, like almost basically be the voice of Oz, where you're not like, there could be someone else behind the scenes who could be running this and talk over us, for example. They may need to. But, again, most people, they just use the mouse. They usually use the keyboard that comes with their computer, or they buy whatever's cheap. Versus if you're producing, you need to get something that's silent, and that's both the mouse and the keyboard. And Darren, by the way, who's watching this live, mentions trackpads are silent. Yes, trackpads are silent. There is going to be potentially a click, by the way. They are silent because a lot of them now are like one piece, but you do have to keep that in mind as well. Okay, Marco, what other things as a producer do I need to consider?
A webcam. Even
why do I need to consider a webcam if I'm a producer?
Because at some point, and as I mentioned a couple of times,
okay,
you may need to talk and interact with the speakers, okay, or the hosts.
Yeah.
So it's important to be seen, of course. It's good to have a good image, but you don't have to spend the whole your budget with a webcam. Okay, so that's why we brought this lovely standard C920.
And that's one thing you got to remember as a live stream producer. You kind of have to look at like what you're going to be doing. So if you're a person that like loves being behind the scenes, you're not ever going to be on camera, kind of like what we're doing right now, Marco. You don't need to buy a mirrorless camera, for example. If you're just going to be behind the scenes, you need to pop on to help your talent, for example, get them, situated, prepare them. You don't need to buy a super expensive camera or a switcher or any of that kind of stuff. Like, because again, you're behind the scenes. If so you could get away with something as simple as this, a Logitech C920, about $80. Again, it's a basic webcam. It's a good webcam. It'll do the job as a producer if you don't need to be on screen a lot. Now, if you're thinking, okay, well, I'm a producer, and well, you know what, I do need to be on screen, then that's where I would consider going into, a mirrorless camera or something like that. But to get started, you don't need a super expensive camera. Again, you're going to use it sparingly. You're going to go on screen with somebody. You're going to help them get set up, but you're not really going to do a whole lot outside of that on screen. Marco,
yes.
What other things do you think I need to? Yeah, go ahead.
And one of the main highlights about this precious thing, and let me share it, because
sure,
if you don't mind, let me move it around, because I'm using one right now.
Yeah, so here I'm going to cut back to Marco.
Okay, let me.
So Marco's got.
It's focusing.
There you go. Okay.
There you go.
So here's Marco. He's got, I know you're not using this for much of, like, you're using it because you may want a second angle, for example, right?
Yes. And oh my God, this is a mess. I need to. But the main point about this is that this camera has around 8 years. Okay. Mm-hmm. It was the first camera I used. And now I use it in my desk to make my product reviews. Okay, when I do my unboxings, for instance, I put it like that, and I can show my desk with this thing like this. Okay, mm-hmm. And it has 7-8 years.
Yeah.
So it's paid, repaid, repaid, because with everything I made, with the money I could make with this camera, and it has a good image. It doesn't show. I didn't show well because it's not set it to show me. Okay, so the lights are not. I needed to set up to work with that, but I think it's a really good option. If you just need to, sometimes say hello to the people and look, you need to click here, 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 and here, and then it's okay, and leave it there. I will put the PowerPoint in the screen. It's more than enough.
Fantastic. Yeah. And so I gotta say, I love the fact that you mentioned that you get a lot out of the production of like this equipment. So for example, like if you maybe you bought this camera and you're like, you know what, you were planning to use it and you didn't use it. Don't throw it away. It could be a great second camera. If you're not going to be if you're not going to be on camera much, consider using something like that, for example, just to show yourself on camera, to show face to your customers that you're going to be doing productions for. Now, if I were like, okay, well, I don't need to buy that expensive camera. What do I need to do instead? Marco, the thing I would actually invest in if I were doing production here is I would consider getting an extra monitor.
Yes.
And I know we talked about lots of different monitors last week. Let's do this. Let's bring up one of those portable ones. So there's a bunch in the carousel that we have. There's an Acer SB22, for example. That's a potential monitor, to look at. There's a Samsung model. But if you're somebody who you want something that's portable, but something that's also easy to use, it's not going to take up a ton of space, I'd recommend checking out some of those. Let's check out the portable monitor, Marco, the KY model. So let's check out it's about $190. Yeah. So if you're somebody who, you want to do live stream production, you need some extra space, you got a laptop, for example, you might be working with, check out something like this. This is a portable KYY 15.6-inch monitor. Again, you don't need something fancy. It doesn't have to be a 4K monitor. It's portable, meaning if you're doing production, you want an extended desktop, but you also may not have a big desk to work with. And so, this is a good option to consider, because this actually plugs directly into your computer. It can plug into your tablet. It can plug into your phone if you're using those. There's also a coupon here, by the way. So it is about $160, $170 for a portable monitor if you need something like this. I want to make sure we highlight, by the way, a couple of other really good tips from our viewers. I mean, there's lots of other options. There's an MSI Optics Mag 116V. I think that's a monitor. We also have our friend Darren highlighting, if you're starting with a single monitor, he says start over. Again, you can always find somebody selling one of these, or, even on Amazon, if you scroll down, Marco, let's scroll down on there. Let's see if there's any open box items. So scroll up a little bit. Go the other direction, actually. Sorry. Yeah, let's go back up. Yeah. Keep going. Okay, so let's keep going. Let's see. Okay, so sometimes if there is an open box, okay, so off to the right, you see where it says new from $189.99. So off to the right above the share icon. Yeah. So that basically will bring up other options here for monitors. So for example, even if you click on any of the other ones, Marco, you may see other monitors that have basically potentially been returned by people because, maybe they bought it and it wasn't the right size, or, they bought it thinking it was touchscreen when it really wasn't. So you may be able to find these monitors for even less, definitely under $200, but yeah, you may be able to find those there as well. So if I'm a live stream producer, I would highly recommend having something like this, where, you have this portable monitor that you basically can collapse and tuck away when you don't need it. Now, Marco, let's bring up the other one that we also have. It's the Mobile Pixels Trio. And so we got Dean's given us some really good recommendations here. The other option to consider, something like this Mobile Pixels one. This one's a little bit more pricey, but what's really neat about it is it actually attaches to the back of your laptop lid. And so this is the monitor. It's between $275 and $300. There's even a triple model option as well, where you basically add two screens that come out of your laptop, but it's a screen that attaches to your laptop. Let's show what that looks like, Marco, in some of those other shots. Yeah. So it attaches to the back of your computer, and then what you basically can do is you can slide it out, and it does fill up some of that extra space you may need. So as you can see, you can do 2 screens, you can do 3 screens as well with this. Again, it depends on how much real estate you need and how much real estate you have. If you're a producer and you're working off of a small 13-inch laptop, you need to have, you got to have a lot of stuff open. You got to have a presentation open. Maybe you got some videos. Maybe you've got, the run of show open.
Yes.
So you definitely want to make sure you check out this as a producer. You have that extra screen real estate if you need it. And, if you don't want those little, fold up ones, for example, you can also go to launchyour.live/EP85. That was the last episode that I did where I talked about other types of screens. For example, our friend Anka, who was on earlier, she talked about having two 49-inch screens. So some people have 49 screens. Some people have two 24-inch monitors next to one another. It really depends on your budget, but the benefit is if you have, if you're doing a lot of production, you want to make sure you have enough space. So in this case, bigger is typically better. So, Marco, okay, so let's keep going here. We got a couple more items I know we want to talk about from a production standpoint. Let's talk about what are some ways that I can make my live streams easier to run? So I think you have one on your desk, don't you? I think you have a
Stream Deck.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Marco's got a Stream Deck. I've got a Stream Deck as well. Let's talk about a couple of pieces of hardware that you want to consider getting as a producer. So one of these is going to be that Elgato Stream Deck. Let's bring up that the extra large one.
This is the new version.
So what is this exactly? Tell people.
Well, this is a kind of shortcutter. Okay, so instead of looking, I need to change my scene there, and I need to turn the lights down there, and I need to tweet to there. You have the whole dashboard here, sort of, and if you can use these keys as triggers, and you hit one key, and then this will bring the comment to the screen. For instance, you hit another one, you can change the scene, for instance.
Okay,
so
cool.
This could be really helpful, and it integrates with vMix, with OBS. Hopefully soon it will integrate with StreamYard. Yeah. So with YouTube, Twitter. So this could also with Elgato gear.
Okay, yeah. And so if you got any Elgato lights, yeah, excellent point.
It will ease your live streaming production process, because you will have just in front of you the whole situation set.
And I got to say, this is one of those, I have one of these as well. And so as you can see here, they make multiple sizes for this. They make a 6-key one. And here's the thing. It's not just 6 keys. It's 6 folders. So you could put 6 folders, so 1 folder per button. And then when you tap a button, it could then give you 6 keys per button and so forth. So it can do a whole lot more. So you kind of have to, on this sort of thing, you want to make sure that you also don't shortchange yourself. So for example, if you're just doing production, you're just starting out, the 6-key one is not a lot of buttons. You may want to consider the 15-key or the 32 one, because the way this thing works is, and we're going to give you a quick demo of this, I think, right, Marco? So let's talk about this first, and then we'll so let's show people what's the 6-key button one look like.
Okay.
So here's the 6-key one. And so the 6-key one is, again, not a whole lot of buttons, but they can trigger different actions. So for example, you can have one that, you could set these buttons to mute your microphone. You can set them to play sound effects. You can set it to, when you switch to a program, let's say you're in your design program and you're making graphics for your live stream production, you can have this bring up all the hotkeys, or you can assign them for your production. So this way, if you're in, if you're in your favorite graphic design program, like a Photoshop or something like that, you can go into Photoshop and you can have it switch to those keyboard shortcuts on the Stream Deck. Now let's go back to that 15 key one, Marco.
Oops. There you go.
So this is the 15 key one. And it's a very good product. So what this basically does is with the 15 key, it gives you, again, you get more than 6 buttons. So you get 15 and you can have folders on all of these. And this can also be used to basically trigger actions. There's so many things here. I mean, for example, if you want to, say you want to play a sound effect, if you're using the Elgato Stream Deck with their 5.0 software, it can bring music in that doesn't give you copyright strikes. If you're somebody who, you want to use some additional software, it can work with that as well. So, it's a really, really, really amazing product to be able to use. Marco, is there anything else you want to add to this, or you want to give people a quick demo?
I think it's good to show them, even though I'm using the old version. Okay, but it works.
Okay, so Marco's going to demo the Stream Deck real quick for you.
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to show is, and I think you already saw it, I have this integrated with OBS. I'm using OBS as my virtual camera, so I can change scenes. Okay, so this is an awful camera. Okay, so for instance, when I'm doing my reviews and unboxings, I'm showing my desk. Look how beautiful this is and whatever. Okay, this is my scene deck. Okay, I have here my main button, which leads me to the sound effects, and I can.
Exactly. So Marco can play sound effects. Very cool.
For this, let me share this for nostalgic people.
Okay.
Okay. So I can get back, for instance, and I have this, and this is a software included in the Stream Deck pack, which is the voice mode. Okay, which allows you to modify your voice, and also, as someone mentioned before, now I have these background musics. Okay, some of them came from the Stream Deck app as well.
I know you can play it. Let's try not to play it. I don't know. I assume it's fine, but
okay.
So you can, so Marco can play music with this thing. I mean, there's a lot that you can do with these products.
Yes, so, and it's really easy and helpful, as you mentioned. Okay, we have just 15 keys, but within these 15 keys, we can create folders, so we can take the maximum advantage of the tool.
Absolutely, yeah. And so it has, there's the, what is it, six key, the 15 key, the 32, and if you're a mobile user and you're like, well, hey, I don't want to buy another piece of hardware, there is a Stream Deck mobile app that you can use on tablets and smartphones. And so the benefit here is, as a producer, let's say you need to quickly switch cameras, for example, you could use some of these advanced integrations. You could use it to bring background music into the stream. So if you're working with a client and the client's saying, hey, if this client's saying, well, hey, you can, we want to bring, we want to play certain music, an intro music, a video, et cetera. Like you could trigger all that from the Stream Deck. You could also do macros with the Stream Deck as well. Macros in the sense that, like, let's say you're going to start a production, and let's say that production includes doing things like, let's open, hey, like say you work in the cloud and you work in Google Drive with a file. Let's open Google Drive. Let's open the Messenger app that you're using to communicate back and forth that Marco and I might be using. Like say we're communicating on WhatsApp. Marco and I can, we'd be communicating there. So I could say, okay, when I'm ready to start my live stream production, I want to open my browser. I want to open up my Messenger app so I can communicate with Marco. I also want to, what else am I want to do, Marco? Turn on Do Not Disturb, maybe. I think you can maybe do that with that. So like, say you want to turn on Do Not Disturb, and then, I don't know, like, let's, you can do anything you pretty much want to. And so instead of having to do those actions individually, you push one button on the Stream Deck and it does all of that for you in succession. So it does it based off of like whatever order you trigger it. So you push the button and you let it run. It's pretty awesome. Yes, and back to our comments, by the way. Yeah, so you can use it to run a macro. You can also, and actually that would be part of maybe that process. Maybe it's open Google Drive, open my messaging app, mute the audio, for example, and do something else. And it can do all of those steps, like turn on your lights, for example, or set the color of the lights, even if the lights aren't, important. Like it can do all of those steps with one push of a button. So it's pretty amazing. By the way, Dean, you did ask me about a piece of software. I have actually, if you can message me, that would actually be awesome because I'd love to actually talk with you about how that actually works, the software you're talking about. So awesome stuff. I mean, this is the Stream Deck. As I mentioned, there's multiple ones. Let's just show the price real quick of these, and then we're going to talk about some other stuff. So the 6-button one is about $74. The 15 key is about $150. Marco, by the way, click on that first 15 key one that's there. So there's two options for Elgato Stream Deck. The second one is a new generation one. Really, the only difference is that it has USB-C as an option versus the other is USB-A. It's virtually the same, and you can change the faceplates, but like
yes,
otherwise, virtually the same thing. Scroll down on the screen though. Let's go down on the page, and I want to show people this. Okay, so off to the right. Let's go off to the right. Remember how we were talking about the pricing of things, and we're saying this is $150. Keep going. So you see how there's a new and used section on the right. You could actually buy one of these for $50. Let's see what that's actually selling. So somebody's actually selling. That's a pretty good. I wonder what's interesting. Okay, so you could buy one for $50, or you could buy one for, there's probably something wrong with that $50 one, I think. But the one that's $119, again, you could save yourself about 30 or so dollars by getting a new one. So these are options to consider if you want to buy a Stream Deck for your live streams. So as we mentioned, there's the so this is the 15 button option. There's also a 32 button option. When you're going to talk about buying a Stream Deck, think about the future. Think about what all you can do with this. So it's not just for oh, I'm going to use a couple buttons now, or I may not use it. Start to incorporate it into your live stream productions. It will actually make it a whole lot easier to be able to use versus, having to do all these little tasks individually. So there's so much that you can get out of it. By the way, Dean, yes, absolutely. Yes. Message me there. That's perfect, actually. Okay. So Marco, in addition to that, I do want to touch on another piece of hardware that somebody as a producer might want to consider. And that's our favorite Atem Mini. And so let me actually get to the Atem Mini. Okay. So there's a couple of different Atem Minis. I don't care which one you bring up, whatever one you want, but there's a $300 Atem Mini. There's a $800. I think it's $800. There's a $1,000 Atem Mini. And so what does an Atem Mini do, Marco?
Well, it's a camera switcher. Okay. And also it encodes the HDMI signal to be understood by the computer. Okay. So instead of buying 4 different video capture cards, with this device, you can have this job done by the Atem Mini. And besides that, it can help you with look in the screen. So you can switch scenes, you can create scenes, and which it's a really good and helpful thing.
Actually, yeah. And so this is the Atem Mini. They make multiple ones. This one is, I got it highlighted in the carousel. There's a $300 model. There's also some other options as well for these. But basically, if you can zoom in on the back of that, let's show that real quick. So you remember how Marco was switching scenes and he was using his Elgato Stream Deck? The Atem Mini can also be used a couple different ways. So for example, if you wanted to have multiple HDMI cameras, it can support up to 4 cameras in the back.
I don't know why this image is not being zoomed.
Okay, so basically it lets you have 4 cameras. There's an output, meaning you can push it out to a monitor so you can see the preview and then the program output. It also can be connected into HDMI or into Ethernet. Obviously, you can also live stream from this thing. There is something that does say webcam out. Webcam out does not mean you can plug a webcam in. It means that you can plug in that Atem Mini into your computer. So then you can use it. It shows up as a camera source at that point. So it's a great little product. And it also, according to Dean here, it can be used with OBS as well when you plug in the Atem via USB-C into, I'm not sure what that last part is, running OBS. So, but you can use it, there as well. Couple other points, it's 4 camera inputs, and our good buddy Darren here says, it does force you to buy high-end HDMI cameras only. So it means that if you're going to use a webcam, you can't use it with this. However, what you can do with it is you can use those camera sources for other things. So for example, camera 1 might be your main camera. Camera 2 might be an older HDMI camera. Other options, though, you might want to consider, let's say you happen to have a tablet or a smartphone and you want to display that on screen. You can simply do that by plugging those in via Lightning to HDMI or USB-C to HDMI. And that will allow you to display whatever's on that iPad or that phone or that tablet through the Atem. So then you can push those big buttons at the bottom, the 1, 2, 3, 4, and that switches the camera angles. And then there's one other neat little feature, and let's go up to that, Marco, real quick. The picture-in-picture. So there's that set of 6 buttons here at the top.
Oh my God.
And so you can do picture-in-picture. And I'm going to just demo this real quick, actually, because I happen to have an Atem Mini here. And I'm just going to push this. I'm going to turn it on. So you're going to see if you're watching this live, you're going to see a big picture of me, and you're going to see down in this little corner here, a little small version of me. And then what's cool about it is that I can literally just move this around during the live stream if I want to. For example, I'd never want to put in the bottom left corner because it'd be getting blocked by your name, but you could do that. And then you could have a camera source being brought up. And so the camera source could be there and I could be over top of it as well. So there's lots and lots and lots of really cool options, ways to make this work. And it's so simple that I just turn it off and I'm done. So you have lots of options here. And there's even another model, by the way, for the Atem. There's also an Atem Mini Extreme that does run more than $1,000. But the benefit to the Extreme is that it gives you 8 cameras. It gives you, I think, two monitor outs, meaning you could push it to different things. So it's a very, very, very useful tool, especially as a producer, because again, if you want to be able to switch scenes, you're not having to click around a lot of stuff. You literally can just use some of the buttons that are there. It also has transitions on it as well. So you could do some pans and some swipes directly on the Atem. So you can just push a button and it will do all that for you. Yeah. And so it's it's just a great piece of hardware. Granted, it does cost a little bit more, but it's an excellent value. And I think that's a key thing to drive home. Okay, Marco. And for those of you, by the way, if you're interested in the Atem and you're like, well, I want something that has a screen on it or something like that, there is the Feel World Live Pro as well. We've got that highlighted in the carousel. We're not going to show it, but basically it's the same thing. It's a bigger switcher. It has a little small screen on it, has a T-bar, so then you can easily adjust the fade, for example, from one scene to the next. But the Atem Mini is fantastic. It also has software that can be controlled via macro. It can do chroma keying of background and things like that as well. So it's a very good piece of software and hardware for a live stream producer. Okay, Marco, let's do this. Let's cover just a couple more items. And here's the thing, like if you're a live stream producer, you don't necessarily need, like the only reason you need good audio is if you're going to be on, if you're going to have to come on camera, on screen, or you're going to have to talk over everyone. And so there are a couple things you can look at. There is something we did highlight in the carousel. This is new from Elgato. And basically it's in XLR. It's a Wave XLR product. And what this essentially does is it allows you to use some of the more high-end microphones, such as an XLR microphone, you plug it into this, and this is your like mic and volume control. Sorry, let me rephrase. Yeah, it's your headphone volume and your mic gain. And basically, the way it works is you plug this into your computer via USB-C, and then you could plug a high-end microphone, for example, like maybe the Shure SM7B, the Shure NV7. Let's see, anything else that's a good XLR mic directly into this. One thing I do want to highlight about the Elgato Wavelink, the Wave XLR, by the way, is it also has software that comes with it too. And that software, if you ever, if you're like, well, I don't have a Stream Deck, for example, and I want to play background music or I want to do some of that stuff, it actually has the ability to route audio from different applications using the Wavelink software that's included. So one thing that's pretty cool about this is you're spending $160 to add an XLR microphone option. So it's a microphone interface, but it also includes software that would normally cost you about $100 to be able to route audio from different applications into your live stream production. So definitely something worth checking out. Marco, what do you think about this? Have you used this yet?
Nope, not really, because I already have my XLR mixer. So, but I'm pretty sure that this would be a really good device because it's an Elgato. I've seen some feedbacks which are really positive about it.
Yeah, it's an excellent product. So again, check that out. And the other thing, if you're going to invest in the Elgato family of products, this is almost a no-brainer because, and I haven't tried this out yet, but I guarantee you it would probably work with the Stream Deck. So definitely something, again, when you start to link, this is why we always talk about buying products and equipment and gear like that and things like that to help make your live streams better. But we also try, if we can, to get part of the same family. And the reason is so that as you're buying equipment, it's all going to very likely work together versus, oh, I have to go adjust the lights here and I have to do this and I have to do that. For example, I'm using the Genie LED lights behind me, and it's because I'm using those, and I also have some of their smart home products. And so the way they work is if I'm like, oh, well, I want to change the color of this and I want to do this and I want to do this, I have one app that I work with, as opposed to, oh, I have to do this for this and this for this and this for this. Simplify it. Make your productions easier to work with. So that's super important. And then I think, Marco, the last two items I want to talk about real quick. I want to talk about sound. Let's talk about the Rode Wireless Go. And yeah, by the way, Dean does confirm for me that the Wavelink software for the Wavelink XLR and also the Wavelink mics, it does work with the Stream Deck. So it's got some software there. So the last two items I want to touch on today, the Rode Wireless Go. And Marco, why is this important? Like, if I'm a producer, why do I need to consider something like a Rode Wireless Go?
Because, for instance, you need to be away and you need to be available to talk. So this is important. Okay. And oh my God. Also, this is a really good microphone as well. Okay. And it for instance, let us think that this could be an hybrid solution. Okay. And we should have in mind as well, like I'm almost sure that I won't be doing this. But for instance, if you want to go in a hybrid situation, okay, this could be as well a very good option because you can use them in your studio or you can use them in a offline event as well. So this could be also important to save money or to be practical.
Very cool. Yeah. And so here's what I want to do. I actually have some of these here. I'm going to show you guys these. So this is the Rode Wireless Go. This is the first system. They make a Rode Wireless Go 1 and a 2. So this is the Rode Wireless Go. And this is basically it. They're these little transmitters.
They are huge.
They're actually
so
pretty
tiny. My God.
Well, they are or they aren't. What do you think?
Yes, they are really tiny.
They're really small, actually. And so basically the way these work is you can click this for example, some people will clip them on here. Granted, that doesn't always look that great, but you could clip it on here. You can also attach a lavalier microphone to this as well if you want to. And so you can get a microphone up underneath your mouth, and then you could have this like clip to the body of the talent you're working with. So that is an option. And then this is the transmitter that goes on the camera. So totally worth checking out. The other thing also, they do come with, again, I'm glad they come with two, actually. They come with the fuzzy windjammer. So basically, if you're this and you want to, again, put these in an environment where like maybe you're in a noisy environment, a person has some, maybe they got a necklace on or something like that, you could have them essentially put one of these on as well. So then they end up with something like this. So there's your Rode Wireless Go with the fuzzy windjammer on it. So then you can capture this off your camera as well if you need to. So this is a great product. Another thing you can also do, if you get the Rode Wireless Go 2 that we mentioned, the Wireless Go 2 comes with two of these. So it comes with, let's see. So it comes with two of these. So like, for example, if Marco and I were doing an interview, Marco could have one, I could have one, and then this would be on the camera and we'd be able to capture the feed through the camera from these two mics. And then the benefit here is so that all your audio is, people are wireless. They don't have to worry about being, tripped up by wires. And then the benefit here is that this actually gives you good quality audio. If you get the Wireless Go 2 system, you can take the Wireless Go 2 and you can use it as an audio interface, meaning it goes into your computer and you then have a microphone, for example. So from a live stream producer standpoint, you may not need to be on camera. You may not be talking very much, but you may have a chance where, or I don't say a chance. Let's say you're doing a production and let's say there's a technical issue or you need to do, an intro for somebody. If you don't have, for example, you got all your other headphones on, you could have one of these on you, mic'd up. So you mic yourself up. And then this could be connected, for example, to your computer. And then you're able to speak into this as your audio. And so people are able to hear you. You're going to sound good. Remember, it's all about increasing the quality of the production. So you can actually sound good by having this on. And then that way, as you're doing that, it's going to help your production sound better as well to your viewers or to the people you're producing the show for. So definitely check that out. That's the Rode Wireless Go 1. I can't recommend that. That's the 1. There's a 2. In terms of the price, Marco, what's the price on these?
Let me see. I think it's a yes, 298. There you go.
So it is a little expensive. It's $298 for.
But you will save more than $100 because it's a deal.
Yeah, and here's the thing: it's a good deal. You're also getting a pair of these versus a single set. So you could use this, for example, with a computer. You could use it. There's just so much you can use these things for. Again, you could use this to record messages for, like, if you need to do a video that you need to record for your for your guests, for example. You now have a microphone that can attach to your computer and record a video. So it's a great product. It's also something where, again, if somebody doesn't like to be wired, this is a good potential wireless system here if they need to have a wireless mic. And you can use this for a lot of different things, actually, for quite a different things. You can use this for, production. You can use this for, if you're doing a hybrid event where somebody's in person, and you've got multiple people you need to capture systems for audio from. Great product to use. So that's the Rode Wireless Go 2. Again, seems like it's pricey, but it really isn't when you really look at it and say, okay, you know what? This is two different microphone systems, two different microphones that people are getting. Okay, Marco, I know we've got a few more items in the carousel, but I think the last item I want to talk about, and I think this is like, to me, this is like, we always talk about this, and we always tell people, you need to make sure that you are getting a good brain for your live stream production. And what we mean by that is, like, so for example, let's pull this one up, Marco. This is the Apple Mac Mini. So as a producer, one thing you want to make sure you do is you have you have a good computer. That's the first thing. Two, you want to probably have a backup as well. So for example, some people, what they'll do is they'll have a PC and they'll have a Mac and they'll use it. They don't have to buy the most expensive one, but they buy a good quality one to have as a backup machine. Some people use it to test because you remember, some of the talent you work with are using Macs, some of them are using PCs. Some of them send you a PowerPoint file versus a Keynote file. And if you open in different programs, they may look different on screen. And it's all about making the production look the best that it can. And so if you do happen to need a computer, I would strongly encourage you to, again, you don't have to get the most expensive computer, but get yourself like a gaming laptop maybe, but then check out something like this. This is the Mac Mini. This is the M1. By the way, the M1 is Apple's version of basically Apple's chipset. So it's Apple's chip that they designed specifically for these products. And so you don't need, like, again, it's a great product. I actually have one here. And this is a great product if you're somebody who, you're doing live streams, for example, and you want something that's cheap, but you want something that's also good quality. You want to check out the Mac Mini M1. And so I'm going to come on camera and I'm going to show you guys what this looks like. So again, this is how small these things are. I mean, you've seen these, Marco. I mean, Mac Mini M1, again, super small. I mean, look at how small these are. So super, super, super small. Doesn't take up a whole lot of space on your desk, as our friend Dean mentions as well. Dean mentions he loves his Mac Mini as well. Again, the Mac Mini, it used to be, here's the thing. It used to be a product that it wasn't very fast, but it has gotten so much better. And these are they're fantastic. I mean, they work so well nowadays. So I'd recommend getting the Mac Mini M1 if you need a good backup computer. Again, you are going to have to supply a monitor for this, but it's a good product that you can just tuck away on your desk. The other thing you could also do if you don't want the Mac Mini M1 and you need a screen, the MacBook Pro or the MacBook Air, the M1 models are fantastic for what they do. You can get the one that we're showing here for, what is this, Marco? About $560 actually. Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. So you get options for $560 or $800 something. Again, that depends on the hard drive space and the RAM, but it is a great product. It works seamlessly. I mean, I'm running one right now and I have, how many do I have here? I probably have about 100 tabs open and a whole bunch of other stuff. And it's not slowing down at all. And I'm live streaming, by the way. And I want to make sure that we highlight this other comment, the super small form factor. You can fit it in a backpack. So if you need to travel the location to be, to help somebody with live stream production, you could take this with you. Take this and a little portable monitor, and you have a very powerful setup there. So I would strongly encourage you, again, to not just get the Mac Mini, but also get a PC option as well. And so this way you have both of them as a producer. You can be more flexible with people when they say, you know what? Oh, I only work in Keynote. That's not a big deal. Hey, I work in PowerPoint. Okay, no big deal. Oh, I only use Windows. Because again, you also need to know how the software works. And you also need to know how it works across the different applications. So if I'm using a Mac versus a PC, if I only know one system, again, it helps make your productions better for the people you're producing for. So consider having those. I'd also recommend having them as a backup so that, let's say something does happen to your system in the middle of the show, you have the other one up and ready to go. So then that way you're able to, keep the live stream production moving and running smoothly. By the way, a quick little note about that. If you do happen to be running a live stream for somebody and I can't stress this enough. One other little item, and this will save you a ton of headache, is to get yourself a USB Ethernet adapter. And that is in the carousel. I think I got the right one there, Marco. I'm not sure if I have the right one, actually. No, here, I think this is it. So there's a USB Ethernet adapter. And so the benefit here is so that as a live streamer, this is if you had to buy anything off what we've talked today, check that out, because basically what it does is is that the right one, Marco? I think, right? Is that a USB? Is that an Ethernet cable? I think. Or that's a USB.
Wait.
Yeah.
Wait.
So we're gonna pull up we're gonna switch it up. So there's a USB-C to Ethernet adapter. So if you're like, hey,
there you go.
How do I get my live streams and keep them? Any of these computers you buy, how do I make them more stable? Check out one of these, and I think these are like $10. And it's USB-C. It adds an Ethernet port. So if you're like, well, my computer doesn't have Ethernet anymore, spend the $10, buy one of these. Guess what? It's going to hardwire. And don't think like, oh, well, wireless is so much better. Wireless is actually not as fast. And, the other thing also, it depends on your internet service. So some people, they'll have internet service, and their internet service, for example, will give you faster speeds if you're hardwired in versus using Wi-Fi. So that's just something you want to consider. That's just like one last bonus tip, I think, for you as a live stream producer. There's so many other things, by the way, that we didn't cover in the carousel, but make sure you go and check those out. Anything else you want to add, Marco? I do want to highlight, by the way, for our friend Dean. He's got some suggestions for planning. Dean, do me a favor, just drop those in the comments or send them to me, and I'll make sure we get them out there. Would love to, if you have any other suggestions for producers, what else should they be checking out? By the way, Dean's watching over on our YouTube channel as well. So want to thank him for tuning in and sticking with us for most of this. Marco, is there anything else you want to add?
Well, I think the kind of final notes about this topic, which is so rich, is gather all the experience, all the knowledge you got from your own live streams, from making live stream production, from things you saw on events, okay, and find how you can, for instance, apply those knowledge to your live shows, how you can avoid in the future that things to happen, and also make some benchmarking as well, so you can become a really good live producer, because it's a really interesting job and challenging, and also it's and there's one thing I remind now, it's an amazing way to learn, because you will be working with amazing brains sharing their knowledge, and instead of paying to assist, you will be paid to listen to them. So this could be a nice way, something interesting as well on this live producing job. So have that in mind as well. But one of the things you should have in mind is being really helpful. This could be game changing on the live producer.
Definitely. Yeah. And I got to say, I mean, again, it's about building from show to show. So for example, if you're new to this, start out in the trenches, like get really good, like be on other people's production teams, help them out and learn how they're doing things, and get to a point where then, you know what, I could do this myself, and then start producing shows for other people, so that, you're not just like trying to, because again, remember, what you do reflects on the production. So if you're new to production and you're like, well, I've never done this before, the best way to get started, it's not to experiment. Maybe it's to experiment with your own things, but it's not to experiment on other people's shows. It's to get good at it. So that may mean, maybe your first job might be, you're responsible for, I don't know, just checking out like the headroom of somebody on a show, or checking out the, making sure their mic audio is there, or, helping solve some of the basic tech stuff. I think that would be like a good place to start, and then work your way up to take on additional tasks, where maybe you're the assistant at that point, where you're running other shows. But again, these are all tips and tools to help you be a better live streamer. So with that, I want to thank everybody who's been tuning in. I mean, we've actually had quite an audience. I got to say, Marco, we've had quite an audience. Again, if you want to watch this and you want to follow along with all the tools and the equipment we've been highlighting throughout the show, just go to launchyour.live/EP86. Remember, this is an episode where we talked about tips and tools to help you improve your live stream production to be a better live stream producer. But with that, I'm Christian Karasiewicz, joined by Marco Novo, and we want to thank you for tuning in to episode 86, where we talked about tips and tools to be a better live stream producer to create a more professional live stream. We will see you all on a future episode. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.